How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of FSI's PGA DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation 4047, joined with John Cool 19. It is the PGA Championship week, everyone, and welcome to our show. John, are you excited for our second major of the season and another chance at winning $1 million?
Absolutely. I've got my Millie ticket fired up, ready to go. I will not be maxing that out. That is not my favorite contest, but not playing it seems like a total waste of an opportunity. So yeah, I'm super excited about this. I actually like playing DFS on these courses that aren't played every single year. I think that gives us a little bit of edge by diving in further versus your Wells Fargo or some of these events that are held Bay Hill, those sorts of things every single year. So really excited about the event. Was kind of cool seeing last week KH Lee go back to back at TPC Craig Ranch. That was exciting, but this is going to be so much different. I like this version of golf a lot better. Not 25 under par winner. I think the winner might get to something like 7 or 8 under par. I don't know if we'll even get that far under. We'll see. But yeah, super excited. What about you?
Yeah, pretty pumped for the PGA Championship. Coming off of a pretty healthy weekend when it comes to winnings. Made myself quite a bit of cash and on some NASCAR contests. It did fairly well in the Byron Nelson as far as payouts go. Cashed in a lot of the LPGA and Korn Ferry Tour contests. So, it's not just the PGA Tour that we're operating over here. We do cores for all contests for the PGA, including Showdown weekends. So if you want to find that link to the Discord channel for all of those core updates and or projections for each and every contest out there, then you can find that link in the bio. And that's on our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. All right, but we're talking some PGA Championship here. We have a new course, as you mentioned. Let's dive in. Let's talk a little bit about what to expect this week with Southern Hills.
Sure. So yeah, it is a new course. It has not been played in a while, but if we can go way back in time here, look at 2007 PGA Championship, Tiger Woods winner. John Daly also won at this course in the 90s, early 90s here. So that's going way back. But they have renovated the course a bit since then. It is a little bit different. So we're kind of relying on really on the look we saw in 2021, the Senior PGA Championship. So we do have a bit of information, but really we've dug in as much as we could this week. We're looking at Southern Hills Country Club. This is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A lot of guys made the short trek last week from Texas to be here. So this is the best field we've seen all year. The Players was the best leading up to this. If you look at the field as a whole, though, we're looking at, I think it's top 70 ties actually are making the cut this week instead of the standard 65. And of the 150 or so golfers, there's a handful, 15, 20 that are PGA pros. So we're not really looking at those guys. There's quite a few older guys, like let's just say John Daly for fun, that don't have a realistic chance of winning this event. So I think that kind of narrows it down. We should see quite a few 6 out of 6 lineups this week, maybe a little heavier than we normally would. But yeah, let's get into the course. It's a par 70, 7,400 yard bent grass greens. This is going to be super, super difficult, as I alluded to. The greens are absolutely ridiculous. They're undulating. They're super fast. There is roll-offs all over the place. They are completely surrounded by sand on the vast majority of the holes. We're looking at water, mostly just like creeks and such going through the course. Water on like 15 of the holes. So a whole lot of difficulty there. Lots of sand to contend with. But as far as off the tee, these are wide open fairways. There's not much tree lining to contend with, and the rough isn't going to be super penal. The issue is going to be finding those greens and being able to stick your ball in the right place and not be having to go through multiple hills and turns to get it to the pin. That's going to be the toughest part. So we're looking at approach this week being super important. We do want golfers who are a bit longer off the tee. That 7,400 yards, it's going to be kind of a monster for these guys. They've backed up some of the tees since before. And even then, Tiger Woods, he's a bomber. He was at least in 2007, and he won. John Daly, same thing, absolutely could crush it off the tee. We do need that as well this week, so driving distance is in our modeling also. But since these greens are so difficult to hit, and even golfers who get it right up to the green, then they roll off, it could be 15, 20 yards in. We're absolutely looking at around the greens being much more critical this week than they would be on any other week. It's one of my higher rated stats than I would on almost any other course that the PGA Tour will hit this year. Par 5 scoring way down this week, something I normally factor in pretty heavily. There's only 2 of them. They are like 600-yard par 5s. We're not going to see very many birdies, but probably no eagles at all unless somebody chips in, or it's going to be like 200 plus. Well, it'll be a chip in for these guys for eagle at best. But we're not going to be hitting very many greens, not going to be a bunch of eagle putts. So par 5 scoring is kind of out the window this week. I'm looking at good drives gained, bogey avoidance since it is so difficult, scrambling, and then just heavily weighting that approach and around the green game. And don't forget to toss in ball striking or your shots gained off the tee as well.
Yeah, definitely going with the ball strikers. The driving distance is going to be a big factor, and around the green, I'm glad you mentioned that. Heavily weighted that in the modeling, just to make sure that we have guys that can get it up and down for par, and or maybe get it up and down for a bogey. Avoiding the big numbers is going to be pretty critical this week. So, making sure we're not missing those 5-footers coming back for par. That kind of seemingly haunted me last week with Zalatoris. I won't get into it too much, but let's just say I was not happy with the missed opportunities for Willie Z. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. Great breakdown. I think I agree with all of that. So let's get into the picks now.
Sure. The only thing I think I missed was the weather. We're looking at probably some really windy conditions. So I did factor shots gained, windy conditions into my modeling also, but just kind of, you might have to gauge that on Wednesday night to really see how bad it's going to be. But we're expecting a lot of wind, potentially even at the lake, as it's going to be so windy. But we should get some rain also coming in overnight. I think on Thursday night is what it's looking like.
Yeah, so maybe some softer conditions on Friday.
If they play.
Yeah. So favorites, I'm going to go with Jon Rahm here at 11-2, 14-1, recent winner of the Mexico Open, world number 2. There's not much really you can, there's not much you don't know about Jon Rahm. If you're watching DFS golf videos weekly, this is one of the greatest golfers in the game right now. But what really separates him as my favorite play is him in GPPs. I think a lot of the focus is going to be towards JT. I think I still think he's a really strong play. I think Scotty Scheffler is going to not be overlooked like he was at the Masters or even at the Byron Nelson, being the highest priced golfer in both of those contests, winner of this Masters. I believe he's still top 10 last week, coming in, with just a regular old weekend. But I think a lot of the focus is going to be on, golfers in the 9K range that are playing really well, golfer like Rory McIlroy at 10K. And I think John is just going to be kind of like this forgotten man. Everyone's still getting past the point of his, around the green game struggling in recent weeks leading up to the Masters, and the putting that we saw him struggle with leading up to the Masters. But since the Masters, it seems like Jon Rahm is back. And now we're getting into the bent grass season. We saw how well he dominated at Memorial on bent grass greens. And I think Jon Rahm is about to peak for his season. And it's going to start rattling off top 5s, top 10s. And I strongly considered him for one and done this week. And I think he's a really strong candidate for one and dones. If people have already burned Rahm, through the Cali swing, or, at a major. So if Jon Rahm plays like the best he can play, and if this is going to be US Open like conditions, recent winner of the US Open kind of makes a lot of sense. So at sub 15% ownership, I think Jon Rahm sets up for a great GPP play. That's why he'll be in some of my high dollar GPP lineups. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the Jon Rahm pick. Everything you said makes a lot of sense. The ownership on him, I think, is the biggest factor. If you can get him underneath Scotty and Justin Thomas, it makes a ton of sense in your GPPs to pivot there. Honestly, all three of these golfers could win. And if you look at the odds, Vegas thinks they're all going to win just as many times if you played it 1,000 times. So I'm absolutely okay with that. My modeling and everything is pointing me towards Justin Thomas being maybe just a slightly better pick. As far as the model goes, that doesn't mean he's a better pick, but that's where I went here for my favorite. His form has been just excellent. 5th place last week, and 7 of his last 10 events, he finished top 10. He was my favorites pick last week also, and then that top 5 finish helped a whole bunch there in my GPP lineups. He's really good on difficult scoring, which I found interesting here. Justin Thomas, he plays very well in these events. John Rahm actually rates out really well in that difficult scoring shots gained as well. Justin Thomas, though, 12th in driving distance. I like that a ton. He comes in 16th off the tee, 5th on approach, 12th in bogey avoidance, and 28th scrambling. So the modeling loves him a ton there. And then I love to, for these majors, look back at the last 5 to 10 majors or so. In his last 5, he does have 1 missed cut, but he was also 8th place just a few weeks ago here at the Masters, 40th, 19th, and 21st in those other last 5. So he definitely excels in these big events. And I think just like John Rahm, he kind of tunes his season around trying to peak during this season or for a handful of events. I could see him coming out and winning this week. I like him a lot on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, the win is going to come for JT. It's been quite a while since his last win, and he's rattling off top 5s in any kind of event, whether it be a major or, just Byron Nelson. I believe he top 5'd want to say there was a Florida event that he top 5 to earlier this year, but he's just showing up at every golf course, playing his best golf. So I really like JT, definitely in the player pool this week. Moving on into the favorites, or for the values, we have Corey Connors at 8K, 60-1, probably not, a bet. I wouldn't bet anyone but a stud this week. I just don't think we're going to see long shots or these mid-tier guys pull off a victory. But, Corey Connors, someone looking for that maiden win. Maybe it's a major, but I just don't know if that's something you can fall back on. But these 2 picks here, I feel strong for DraftKings purposes. They're both elite ball strikers, and they're both in really good form. Corey Connors, just to talk on him for a little bit, 12th in the model, 21st on the approach, 7th off the tee, and he's 15th in that key proximity from 200 yards. Rates out really well on the long par 3s and the long par 4s. I thought that was pretty critical. 21st at the Wells Fargo Championship and 12th at the RBC, with that 6th place Masters really kicking off some of his form. So Corey Connors rates out well, looks like to be a really good course fit. You get an 8K price tag. I think he's a pretty strong suit for cash. Keegan Bradley, the next guy, I really like him for cash as well. I spent a lot of time down in this 7K range, really, really, really looking for a guy I felt safe on. And that's usually not something you say about Keegan Bradley. But his putting statistics weren't as bad as some of these other guys down here, a la Luke List, sitting in the 150s, and I kind of feel burned on the putting performance that I saw from Will Z. So I wanted to go with someone that I felt like could still make some putts, and, how I landed on Keegan Bradley that way, I don't know. But he's an elite ball striker with excellent form as well. 8th in the model, 17th on the approach, 14th off the tee, 7th in that opportunities gain. He doesn't putt terribly from, and I thought this was interesting, 5 to 10 feet. He's pretty good from 5 to 10 feet. He's just horrible from 0 to 5 feet. So if you could just, it makes no sense, right? So it's like, if you could just make some of those short putts, and I feel like those are the par putts that he misses. If he can just make those 5-foot par putts coming, off of a missed long, lengthy lag putt or a chip off the green, if he can just convert those this week, he should be fine. I don't expect him to make every putt, but as long as he can make those key critical par putts, I think Keegan will do just fine. And the recent form suggests that he might. 2nd at the Wells Fargo, 8th at the Valero, and 5th at the Players, 11th API. So some really solid finishes for Keegan Bradley. Your thoughts on these two, and how do you feel about looks like Team No Putt for this slide?
Yeah, I'm certainly with you on both these guys. You make a great point with Keegan. Just the form recently makes you feel real safe taking him down here versus some of the other guys.
Yeah.
And that's it. My only concern with Keegan, and I completely agree with you, great cash option, could be the ownership. I think a lot of people are thinking the same thing as you as far as the form is excellent, the ball striking is there, the approach is there. If he can play with the putter just a little bit, he should be an excellent option. That'd be my really only concern is in GPPs, him getting, you don't want chalk Keegan
Sure.
in GPPs, but
Yep.
you do, I think, want to look at Keegan as a cash play this week. I'm certainly with you. These are one of the first couple guys that I picked for my pool as well. So a couple other guys that I went probably my very first guy I picked overall in my pool here. Shane Lowry, 8,700 on DraftKings. The price is just absolutely fantastic. At the 28-1 odds, he absolutely should be in the 9K range on DraftKings.
Yeah.
They kind of maybe slipped on the scoring, on the pricing just a little bit, but we'll take advantage here. He will be probably one of my first options in on cash, and I will try and get overweight on him in GPPs, although he will be very chalky as well. But there's just a ton to like here. He's number one, shots gained, windy conditions, long term. He's really good in difficult scoring courses. The form is there. He's third at the RBC, third at the Masters, 12th, then 13th at the Players before that, second at the Honda. So the form is just excellent in difficult events. He's not playing every single week right now. He picks and chooses his events. He comes out and plays really well. His last 5 majors, he's made the cut in every single one. That includes 2 top 5 finishes, both at the Masters and last year's PGA Championship. And then if you just want to dig into stats, he's top 10 on approach, top 10 bogey avoidance, 11th in scrambling, 12th good drives gained, and he's top 40 around the greens. So even if he's not hitting them, he is just fine, well above average when it comes to around the green play. So I think there's not very much to knock when it comes to Shane Lowry this week. Really, the only thing you could say probably again is the ownership. But for me, I think he's too safe of a play to try and fade in GPPs or really in cash for that matter. Second option for me here, Taylor Gooch. Not as much safety in this pick. He's 150-1 in the books. I would love maybe a top 20 bet on him. Where Shane Lowry, I'd be looking at a top 5 bet is much better value there. Top 20 maybe here for Taylor Gooch. His form though isn't the best. He's missed 3 out of his last 5 cuts. But when he has been making the cuts, he's been making like top 15s. So he's got 4 top 15s in his last 11 events. 6th overall in sand saves in this field. He's 25th in difficult scoring. I like both of those. He's been playing not all of the majors, but he's been done well. 14th at the Masters just a few weeks ago. Before that, 33rd, 44th, and then a missed cut at the PGA Championship in 2020. So he's not playing all of them, but he's had some decent success. I would take that. And the Masters is one of my favorite corollary courses for this event. And so I like that a lot, that he did really well a handful of weeks ago there. I think the modeling, though, is the reason I'm pointed towards him. He's 4th around the greens. He is 2nd on long par 3s, 16th bogey avoidance, and top 30 on approach as well. Hits all those key categories I'm looking for. I will certainly be looking at Taylor Gooch as a GPP option this week.
Yeah, I think Gooch much better in these kind of conditions, these harder courses. I know he's missed some cuts, but just, when I think about his game, I don't think he's going to win at that 20 under kind of golf tournament.
Sure.
Gooch is going to contend. It's going to be around, 8 to 12 kind of under, maybe kind of, get yourself in that top 10 range with maybe like 3 under on the weekend. So I like Gooch as well because of that around the greens. The ball striking, not all the way there. And that's kind of what's hindered him, but I think he can make up for it with those around the greens. And those are going to be really, really, really pivotal this week.
Yeah.
And Shane Lowry looks to be playing way too good to be priced at this price. And I could see a lot of GPP exposure at that 8,700 price tag. Could be a cool way to get creative with your third guy in. It's kind of hard to get, maybe a 10K, 9K, and then a high 8K. I always kind of like playing with that roster construction because a lot of people always go from 10 to 9 to bottom 8. And I always like to try to be a little different where I either go 2 9Ks and a high 8K, or like, maybe 2 10s and that high 8s, or a high 9, a low 10 and a high 8. I just like to mix and match sometimes that way. And, I always notice in roster constructions, they try to get a little salary relief with that bottom tier in the 8K range. So
Right.
going up to that kind of dead zone, I think that's where Lowry fits this week. So he's going to be in the lineup pool for sure. All right, moving on to the sleeper slide. I'm going baby swag and Rabban Lahiri. Congratulations to him. Just had a baby, and he is on his way to the PGA Championship. So, good luck to him this week. Obviously playing with house money with the baby coming in, but he's actually played really well leading up to this. I've been playing him every week since the Players, where he finished second, just shockingly. I mean, he had a down weekend at the RBC. Hey, maybe he found out, baby was coming soon that week. We don't know. But a 15th at the Mexico Open, a 6th at the Wells Fargo Championship, plays really well around the greens. That's really what I wanted here. I know he surprisingly off the tee pretty well. Not a very long hitter though. Lahiri's going to have to get it done with that elite short game. So hopefully he can get up and down, save a lot of pars this week, and maybe find a few birdies, make the weekend, and have himself some fun at 6,500. I think you can do, pretty well with that ownership down there with him. But tell me about your pick. I feel safer with yours. I like taking flyers with mine.
I'm with you. I don't necessarily feel super safe about it. I got a little bit of an ownership look, and he is looking at somewhere maybe around 3%, which is
Nice.
probably double what Lahiri is going to come in at. But yeah,
low.
I'm a little surprised based on what I looked at first. Found him really kind of was tuning into what I like here, and then realized that nobody else is thinking the same thing. But yeah, I do kind of like Kevin here. 130 to 1 to win, 6,900 on DraftKings. I think a much better DraftKings play than his outright odds there. Unless you're really shopping, you might be able to find something better than that. But he has missed 3 cuts in his last 10 events, so the form isn't absolutely excellent. It's fine, but he was 14th at the Masters, and then he was 3rd if you look way back at the Tour Championship. So some tough events here. His last 5 majors, he has missed 2 cuts, but he was 14th at, like I said, at the Masters, 12th at the Masters before that, and then the event before that was the Masters again in November, where he was 13th. So all top 15 finishes at Augusta over the last year and a half or so. He comes in at this event number 1 in putting on bent grass greens over the last 100 rounds, 4th in sand saves, which I think will be critical this week. The approach is really good, 26th in this field, and around the greens 3rd. So if he can just get it up and in a whole bunch, I think he has a great chance to make the cut and really finish maybe even top 20 this week. He's 8th in scrambling, 12th in fairways gained. His issue is really distance. He does not hit it very far, but if he can come through with that really is elite around the green game, 3rd in this field long term, I like that a ton. Even if he ends up in the sand, comes up a little short, as long as he can avoid those big numbers, he's going to putt his way into the cut. I think have a great opportunity to help your DraftKings lines at the 6,900 price tag.
Yeah, I like our angle here. We both kind of went similar with elite around the green, really good putters, but they're not that far off the tee. You just kind of have to pick a route and go with it. And if you're gonna find the guys down here that aren't going to be elite from that proximity range or elite from that off the tee statistic or with the approach, you then getting guys that are going to be able to get up and down for par or birdie on maybe one of these par 5s. But yeah, just guys that can get it done around the greens, probably going to do better than guys that are just going to try to have that elite approach week. Sometimes it's easier to predict the around the green games than it is the approach, especially in this sub 7K range.
Sure.
All right, moving on to the one and done slide. I'm going to go with Hideki Matsuyama. It was between him and John Rahm at the end for me. I did have Spieth and Rory in the mix, but I feel like those two are going to be pretty popular heading into this week. I'm not sure how many people have already picked Spieth. Maybe they did at the Masters. I'm not sure how many people picked Rory. But Hideki was only like 54% of people had him in their one and done pool for our large one and done pool sponsored by Fantasy National Golf Club. So thank you to them for hosting this event. And I'm going to go with Matsuyama. he does look to be pretty chalky on DraftKings at 9,200, but I'm hoping everyone's already picked him for one and done. We do have the Masters correlation with this course. Hideki obviously won the Masters not too long ago, so I like, and he always shows up to Augusta, and if we're gonna have similar conditions for Hideki, who putts really well on bent, 9.4 strokes on the approach last week, looks to be really healthy and swinging the club really well. So I'm going with Hideki. Hopefully he wins his second major. 616th. I'd absolutely crush if he just won this major. So good hopes here with Hideki, and hopefully he can come through. Who's your one and done this week?
Yeah, I love the Hideki pick. I think he's an excellent option on DraftKings for cash or really GPPs. If you want to go overweight, he'll be very popular. I think he's a great outright bet as well. A lot of people are looking at that. I went Shane Lowry here. I need somebody who's not going to be top 5 ownership on the one and dones, and this being a major, I expect everyone to gravitate to the studs, but I think Shane Lowry has just about as much win potential as any of those other guys, maybe at 1B behind all of the studs as far as ability to win this event. I like his chances to get me at least top 5 and get me a lot of money though as well, and so I will take it. Need anything I can get at this point. Had another missed cut last week with Hadwin. He was top 5 in my modeling. Missed a cut, so that didn't help at all. But I don't have much room to go down, so I didn't really lose any ground in the standings. How about that?
All right, we're just gonna make sure you don't finish in last. That is the hope here. Hey, a couple wins, especially one at a major with a sub 5% owned play, it gets you right back in it.
A big jump. Yeah.
Keep throwing darts, keep taking shots, man. Keep it up. Never know what can happen. All right. Well, that'll wrap things up, guys, for this week's PGA Championship breakdown. You can follow me on Twitter at TKNation47. That is John Cool19. John, any final words on the PGA Championship?
This should be a really fun week. If you like birdies, this event will not be for you. It's mostly rooting against bogeys for your golfers and your lineups. I like that a ton. We should see huge fluctuations in the leaderboard. If your guys are winning on Friday, expect them to get terrible buys on Friday. And so it's going to be great. The weekend should be absolutely fantastic here. This is my brand of golf.
Yep. Small greens, windy conditions. That always has a recipe for the disaster. Love it. All right, guys. Thank you again for listening. Like and comment below with any questions you may have. You can find us on our website at FSIDFS.com, www.FSIDFS.com. You can follow us on Twitter at FSI_DFS. All right. Thank you. Enjoy the PGA Championship and good luck in your contest.
Good luck.